If you play vinyl, you already know dust, grime, and even factory residue just kill your sound. But here's the question. Can a $1,400 ultrasonic machine really clean those records as good as the big players without all the extra fuss? Well, today I am putting the Knosti Disco-Antistat Ultrasonic 2.0 to the test. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am so grateful to have you here with me today. Now, I've been living with this machine for a while, and today I'm going to show you what it's like to live with it, and of course, what I heard after I cleaned some records to it. And at the end, I'm going to be giving away this unit to one of you. So you have to stay tuned and watch the review to find out how to enter. Now, out of the box, you get the unit yourself. You get a sturdy label protection clamp like this, and you also get some stationary goat hair brushes built right into the bath. It includes a filter system that continuously circulates and cleans the solution while you're cleaning your records, and a drying rack that holds up to 15 records. In addition to all of that stuff, you get an unopened bottle of their proprietary anti-static fluid, a bottle of distilled water, plus an empty container so you can mix it. So literally, when you get the entire kit, you are ready to clean records. In fact, I do a whole unboxing video, link in the description below. Now let's talk about the machine itself for a moment. The Knosti runs at 46 kilohertz, and that's right at the sweet spot for cavitation cleaning. Now, the brushes inside the bath aren't there to replace the action, but to complement it, loosening the debris while the bubbles do their work. Now, the clamp system protects your labels and gives you an option to clean 7, 10, or 12-inch records. And the filtration system is there, and it's a standout because it keeps the bath cleaner longer, which means you're not just swirling around dirt inside of the bath. And maybe the most lifestyle-friendly feature is that this thing is quiet. Yes, you can run it at the same room that you're in listening to music. You could be listening to a record while you're cleaning a record, and the machine doesn't take away from that experience. Or you could be watching TV, or you could be talking to your friends or your neighbor, or you could be on the couch with your pet. All of this is a huge plus compared to some of the other ultrasonic cleaners available in the market today. Now, setup is simple. You simply clamp your record. You set the timer up to 5 minutes. You could go from 2 to 5 minutes. And while the record spins, the cavitation bubbles in the brushes just do their work to the grooves. Now, I gotta be honest with you before we get into results. I didn't crack open the supplied anti-static fluid because I wanted the winner of the giveaway to have a sealed bottle. I also didn't use their distilled water, so I stuck to straight distilled water, my distilled water, and even with that, guys, the results were strong. So let's get into some of the listening tests here. And what I did was sort of an A-B comparison between doing a groove washer cleaning and then listening to the record, and then going ahead and doing it in the Knosti and comparing what I heard differently. And I think this is really where it counts, what you can actually hear. On a 7-inch 45 of Bob Marley's Mr. Chatterbox, the bass tightened up and the groove felt more locked in. On an original Bruce Springsteen album, this was The Darkness on the Edge of Town, and I recently actually acquired this through a barn find. It was completely filthy. I'll throw a picture here while I'm talking about it. Now, after I cleaned it with the Knosti, I noticed that the surface noise dropped, the mids opened up, and it went from this dull to sound to almost like it was alive, like Bruce was in the room with me. Now, on the Analog Productions, a brand new record, this is a reissue of Aretha Franklin's I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You. I still noticed big improvements. The background got quieter. Aretha's vocals cut through with even more presence. It just felt like the record really stood out over just doing a brush clean. So that's what jumped out at me coming from a simple groove washer brush to the Knosti. What I noticed the most, I guess, overall, out of all the records I cleaned over the last couple months was lower surface noise, more detail, and more music coming through. But that's only half of the story, right? Because it's easy to compare a cleaner like this to brush cleaning. The bigger question is, how does this stack up against other ultrasonic machines, especially ones that are in this price point? Well, to find out, I ran a control test. I have multiple copies of Starcrawler She Said, and this is a record I think that has just the right amount of grit and usually can expose things like pops and clicks pretty easily. Now, I ran my test through my SugarCube SC-1 Mini to measure the surface noise. And if you're not familiar with the SugarCube, it allows you to isolate the noise on a record. You hit monitor, and all you hear coming out of your speakers is pops and clicks. It's literally the defects of the record. It cuts to music and you just hear the defects. So it's a great way to test how clean a record is. And I started with an unclean copy, then I cleaned identical pressing, and I put that in the HumminGuru Nova. And then I took another copy and I ran it through the Kirmuss Ultrasonic. Now, I will tell you, I only used the ultrasonic bath. I did not do the full multi-step restoration process that I detailed in my review of the Kirmuss restoration system, link in the description below. And then finally, I took another copy and I ran it through the Knosti. So that's 4 different records that I tested. Now, here's what I heard. The HumminGuru definitely improved things, without a doubt, but there was still some stubborn noise that remained on the record. The Kirmuss, with just the ultrasonic bath, went even further. The background was darker, the stage opened up. You could definitely tell there was a huge improvement by running it through the Kirmuss. You know that's a powerful ultrasonic cleaner on its own. But how did the Knosti fare? Well, I gotta be honest with y'all. It landed right there with the Kirmuss bath. Pops and clicks dropped to the same level, and in some passages, I really couldn't tell them apart when I was doing an A/B comparison. I had to go back and look at my footage where I labeled the audio tracks as I recorded them to make sure I was listening to the right one. The big thing here, though, is how they both edged out the HumminGuru in this head-to-head. It was without a doubt there was a big improvement. Now, at this price point, the competition is tough, of course. We talked about the HumminGuru Nova. That comes in cheaper, includes a rinse cycle, but it has sort of a weak filtration system. It's not as robust. And I did a whole review on a HumminGuru Nova. Again, link in the description. The Kirmuss is extremely effective and efficient, but it really demands this fussy multi-step process if you want to use the Kirmuss system right. And that's just not ideal for everyone. Nobody really wants to spend 30 minutes on a record unless you want to hear the stamper. But does every record deserve that? Do you have a system that can even hear that level of detail? All of those things factor into the equation. Plus, the Kirmuss system is the biggest system out of it all. It takes up the largest footprint. And I think this is the key takeaway, guys. The Knosti gives you stellar cleaning performance, but a much more simpler and lifestyle-friendly package. Okay, guys, we're going to get into the pros and cons. I'm going to tell you where it shines and where it doesn't. And we're just going to start out with some pros. Let's start out with the positive first. And the first thing I want to say is it's got strong cleaning. And this would sort of surprise me because at first look, the machine doesn't look like it's like an industrial class machine, but it cleans like a champ, man. That ultrasonic compare and combined with those brushes just get records clean. Even with just using distilled water, I was super impressed in how effective this machine is. It really honestly lowered the noise floor, made my record sound better. And that was even compared to brush cleaning. You notice massive improvements if you don't even clean a record, you drop it right in a machine. I do recommend no brush cleaning first because I'm going to get to a con in a moment why you should always brush it first. Number 2 is that this thing is quieter than vacuum machines. It's quieter than the HumminGuru. It's actually quieter than the Kirmuss system. And the great thing about it is that you can use it practically anywhere in your house. Not only is it a small footprint, but the sound, right? So you can use this while you're in a living room watching TV. You could use it while you're talking to your spouse or your kids. You can use it in the same room that you're listening to music in. In fact, when I had it here in my office, I was able to simply put on some music. I didn't even hear the machine running, and I was able to actually sit here and clean a whole bunch of records without ever leaving my music room, which is fantastic. The versatility across the different formats was also surprising. I didn't realize it supported pretty much every format until I got the chance to use the unit. So for me, that was a surprise. I really thought I was only going to be able to clean LPs, but it was very effective in cleaning 45s. In fact, 45s dry super fast on the drying rack. So that was actually really cool. I did a lot of 45 cleanings with this machine, more than I thought I was going to before I stepped into the machine. I also would say there's a fast turnaround using a drying rack. I was doing 2 minute cycles, and for the most part, by the time I got to the end of the drying rack as I was queuing up records, the first record I cleaned was virtually dry. And it didn't take me long until I was pulling that first record out, drop it in the sleeve, and on to the next one. So if you kind of pace yourself, I can imagine if you're doing a longer cleaning cycle, like a 5 minute cleaning cycle for your records, or doing like 2 4s or however you want to do it. If you're doing maybe you're going to go ahead and run through a clean with surfactant and then do a rinse clean. I can imagine that by the time you get done one and you get back to the beginning, you're ready to go and just keep that process going as long as you have the stamina to do it. Also, I really love the compact build with it's got solid materials. They did an upgrade to 2.0. They addressed a lot of the material concerns in the first issue of this. So if you're familiar with the Knosti Ultrasonic cleaner and you heard about some of the cracking and stuff in the support structure, they resolved all of that. They upgraded the bath area on the 2.0. They just made it a lot more solid machine. Plus, it's still small and light enough that you could pretty much carry this around with you quite easily. It feels even lighter than the HumminGuru, although I didn't weigh it. But it also fits nicely on your IKEA Kallax shelf, so you could store it with your records if you have some space, if that's where you want to store it. Now let's get into the cons here. And the first thing I gotta say, and this is the biggest con for me, is the clamp system. This clamp system is a problem, not because of the clamp itself. I didn't mind the process. What actually happens sometimes is that moisture gets stuck or it gets inside of the clamp, and it can actually it can become really, really difficult to undo the record, right? So you get in a situation where you're trying to like that, right? You're trying to get your record undone, and it's just a scary process. And I noticed that when the clamp gets a little bit moist or damp, or if you have a warped record, sometimes it gets too tight. Now there's things you could do to try to prevent it. What I've always done was what I call the spin close. I would just do this, and as soon as it stopped on the record, that's where I would just stop at, right? It just worked out great for me in that regard. Boom, done, and it's easy to undo. The other thing I did is I kept a microfiber cloth with me, and I would wipe the inside of the clamp system here on both sides before I would clamp a record, just to try to minimize that from happening. But that's my biggest con. The second one is there's no rinse cycle here, which may bother some purists that really want to make sure there's absolutely no surfactant left on their records. Now, even though I didn't use the surfactant because I wanted this to go home with somebody with a unused bottle, I did do extensive research on the solution, and I could not find anyone who complained about there being residual residue left on their records or stylus turning white, any of that stuff by using the surfactant. In fact, most people who end up using the surfactant become loyal buyers of the surfactant, thinking that it makes not only sonic improvements, it helps expedite the drying when it's on the rack, and it has anti-static properties that actually help keep all the dust and stuff off the records while it's drying on the drying rack, which is a big concern of why you don't want to air dry records. It's because stuff in the air gets stuck back on the record. The third thing is the filtration system. It cleans sort of like medium to large debris, but like these micro particles still get through. So what I noticed, I was cleaning the water. I was replacing the water more often than not. Mainly because I saw like really small floaties sometimes inside the bath, and I just didn't want that in the bath that I was cleaning my records on. The next thing I will say is that the US distribution still needs some catching up to do. It's still really hard to buy one of these machines in the US, although Fidelity Imports is helping bringing it stateside, and now you can buy one at theanalogshop.com. So if you really want to get one of these machines, make sure you check out theanalogshop.com. It's a great place to go buy one if you're living in the US. Now, the last thing I'm gonna say is that this is priced competitive, but it still is a serious investment. I mean, $1,400 for a cleaner that only cleans 1 LP, that's a lot of money. And I think, when you start looking at that price point, you start thinking, well, the Kirmuss system, I can clean 4 records at a time and all of these things. I think the reason you will choose this particular machine, the Knosti, over some of the other options, it's really that lifestyle factor. The fact that it is ultra quiet, the fact that it is just as efficient as some of their competitors, and that you can really just bring this anywheres with you around your house. It's super lightweight, it's sturdy. You have confidence of being able to use it. I mean, my cleaning footprint was the corner of my desk with a towel on the ground, with the machine plugged into the wall and a drying rack behind it. I didn't need anything else behind other than that, and I never worried about getting my desk wet, getting things around it soaked, ruining labels. I mean, everything just worked really well. And I think you're paying a little bit here for the convenience and that lifestyle factor. Now, I'm going to share my final thoughts on the Knosti in just a moment, but first, I want you to actually experience this machine for yourself. And I just want to say before I get into how, just big thanks, guys, at Fidelity Imports and the Analog Shop for making this review possible, this giveaway possible for the viewers. Thank you so much for your support. Now, I'm going to be giving away this exact Knosti Disco-Antistat Ultrasonic 2.0, the one I reviewed. I'm giving it away to one lucky viewer. This is a near mint grade ultrasonic cleaner with mint surfactant and mint distilled water for you, right? And here's how you enter. One, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Now, it's not a hard requirement, but without being subscribed, how are you going to know if you won or not? If I announce your name, how are you gonna know? So make sure you subscribe so you can see when that video comes out. And while you're at it, just hit the like button for the video. That helps me, and I appreciate that. And here's how you really enter. Leave a comment below. Tell me which record you'd clean first if you won. Now, this giveaway is open to US residents only. I know, I'm sorry. I'm really, really, really sorry for my international viewers. You guys are incredible supporters, and I truly hope to run an exclusive giveaway for you in the future. I'm trying to work on those details. Stay tuned. Now, this entry on this giveaway closes on October 12th, and I'll announce the winner shortly after here on the channel. So make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss it. This is why you want to subscribe to the channel. And just to be clear, because I have to say this contest is not sponsored by YouTube, Knosti, or anyone else. It's just me, Fidelity Imports, and the AnalogShop.com giving back to the vinyl latte community and saying thank you for all your support. So all you have to do again is just drop a comment. What record would you clean first in the Knosti? And I will pick a random comment from this video on October 12th. Now, I can't wait to see all your comments, and I cannot wait to hear what records you are most excited to clean. Good luck. Okay, guys, we're down to the final thoughts. And after living with the Knosti Disco-Antistat Ultrasonic 2.0, I can say this. It's the rare record cleaner that combines serious results with everyday usability. And I mean that because it's quiet, so it fits lifestyle. It's thoughtfully built, simple to use. You don't need to have a science degree to use it. And it consistently lifts the noise floor so the music shines through. And I think that's what you want out of a cleaner. Now, in head-to-head tests, it stood toe-to-toe with far louder and larger systems, yet it does the job in a simple way. And of course, it has that lifestyle-friendly factor built in. And I think that's what makes it special. This isn't just another gadget. It's a machine you'll actually use. You'll grab time and time again. In fact, you'll probably just leave it out in your listening room. So while you're listening to a record, you'll clean a record. You start at the beginning, and probably by the time you're done listening to both sides or 4 sides of an LP, you're ready to play the next one freshly clean in a Knosti. And this is a machine that rewards you every single time you drop the needle. Now, Fidelity Imports was right to back this. I didn't really know much about it until I spoke with them, but I am so glad they put it on my radar because my ears and my stylus are both grateful. Well, thank you so much for watching this review, and I wish you such the best of luck in the giveaway, and I'll see you in the next video with something else worth spinning. We'll see you next time.